collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up this week, we'll talk to the Turkish Cypriot couple who are being prosecuted by the authorities in the occupied north of Cyprus for flying the Cypriot flag.
We believe at the end we will win. All Cypriots will be the winners and Cyprus will be united again. That's what I want.
We'll hear about the 15th International Pharos Chamber Music Festival.
It does really attract the finest musicians of our time. And it's a very intimate setting. It's a very unique setting. So for a number of reasons, it's considered to be one of the finest small chamber music festivals of Europe.
And historic cars take to the roads of Cyprus.
It goes to Limassol through the mountains from Konya, is the highest peak of the mountain Maheras. And after that it goes to Kellaki, and from Kellaki, Akrunda and the Arona, they arrive in Limassol.
In June it'll be 2 years since two of my guests on this week's programme were first taken to court after being arrested in the northern part of Cyprus. Shinel Senem Hussein and Koray Bashdorut Machi are both on the line for flying the Cypriot flag. With them, and joining us on the programme, is one of their Greek Cypriot supporters, and they have many. She is Tina Adamidou. Thank you all very much for joining me. Can we start, Chanel, by you explaining what you were charged with? You are Cypriot, you live in Cyprus, and you were flying the Cyprus flag.
Yes, it first started at 21 June 2013 and we were taken to court by opening 3 Cyprus flags, by saying TRNC is a fake government. We do not recognise TRNC. Our government and flag is Republic of Cyprus.
So it was seen as a challenge to the occupying authorities in the north of Cyprus.
Yes.
When you flew those flags, you must have known it would not be viewed very favourably. What did you expect to happen?
Well, we were expecting to get arrested. It was nothing surprising because it's the occupied area and it's the occupied rules going on. But one day before we done this, the Prime Minister of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, had invited Republic of Cyprus to the Mediterranean Games in Mersin. And he waved at that flag, he watched the games, but before he said that there was no country of Republic of Cyprus. He said that he doesn't recognise Republic of Cyprus. But that day, it's showing that he does recognise it.
Because the Cypriot flag was flown at those games?
Yes, it was waved in Turkey, in Mersin, Trabzon, Istanbul, in every games. So we done a protest. Why is it forbidden in our country? Famagusta is a part of Cyprus, even if it's occupied. So we done a protest with 3 Cyprus flags, and then the police came, attacked us, prisoned us for 6 hours, and we were taken to court on 21 January 2014. Now it's nearly 2 years that we are at court.
And the case has not actually even started being heard, is my understanding. You've been to court how many times?
About 15 times, or maybe more, I can't remember. It was too many.
And what do they say, Koray, when you go to court? Why do they keep adjourning this? Why won't they hear the case?
I give answer for reality because 2 times we are the reason, because my wife
was pregnant. I was pregnant.
Before born, we use one, and after we use another one. And interesting, the judgment lady, and she was same problem. She used about 5-6 times.
So it wasn't that they didn't seem to want to start hearing the case?
I want to add that the prosecutor has been changing all the time at the court case. We first started with one, then he said that I can't do this, he changed it to another one, then he changed it to another one, then he changed it to another one. So because the prosecutor is not ready at the case, it hasn't been starting.
Now, what happened when you went this week? Because it has been going on a long time, and I think that, Tina, you can perhaps come in here, some deals were offered. What
Yes.
went on when the court appearance earlier this week?
Basically, there was a lot more publicity before the court case this time. We had quite a few supporters at the court, and the solicitor, Karai's solicitor, he was actually called in before the actual entry into the courtroom to try a form of plea bargaining, and they were actually given 3 offers, and each one of them they actually refused because they are innocent and they believe that there's nothing to be guilty about. And so that was when, unfortunately, we were told and they were threatened that there is going to be an additional charge given to the couple, which is basically referring to the criminal penalty law 47, I think the articles 47 and 48, for inciting unrest and bullying tactics, basically, against the TRNC. They're trying to bring down the TRNC, which can be very similar to treason. That's what they've seen, and can carry up to a penalty of 5 years imprisonment. That's aside from their other charges as well.
So they haven't brought these charges yet. They're threatening.
They have threatened to bring them, and which was very unusual in my opinion. They have actually given a date for 1 week later, the 21st of May, and they've actually given a time for 2 o'clock, which is again is unusual because the court cases are usually heard in the morning. So this seems that it either will go on behind closed doors, or something very unusual is happening.
Now, I know you've seen President Anastasiades, and I believe he said he would speak to Mustafa Akinci. Do you hold out any hope that the leaders themselves can somehow help you? Because I suppose quite a lot of people would also say that politicians should not interfere in the due course of justice and the law. What are you hoping their influence, if any, can be?
First of all, we are not politicians. We are standard people of Cyprus. Mr. Anastasiades, President of Republic of Cyprus, gave a rendezvous to us, and he said he is very proud, and he gave us support to us to everywhere. And we said before, we use this case, court case, after finish, we will go European Court of Justice. And we give a petition, Tina Adamido start this petition in the Facebook.
We basically started a petition asking, well, it's a petition to the leaders as well as the European courts and the President of the European Union, plus a few other people, including the foreign ministers of Greece and Turkey, to have all the charges dismissed against them. Because it is really a farce. They shouldn't even come to court. And the UN as well, Mr. Ban Ki-moon. And so far we have tried to get as many signatures as possible. It's gone mainly on Facebook. It's gone viral, and we've got about 1,500 signatures so far.
So you want people to visit
Yes, we
what
do.
Facebook page to sign?
They can actually go on to I'm a Cypriot, not a martyr. It's on there. My own personal one, Tina Adamido, you will find the petition there as well. Or the guys themselves, Corail Chanel's Facebook pages. It's publicised all over.
And so you want lots of people to sign that, and when are you planning to send it off, as it were?
We have actually given the first lot of names to President Anastasiades when we had the meeting with him. We are hoping to give it to Mr. Akinci as soon as we can get an appointment with him. And the European Union will follow as soon as we manage to get an appointment with their representatives properly here in Cyprus.
Okay, well, the next court appearance then is 21st.
Yes.
And you really don't know what's going to happen, do you?
No, we don't. We have no idea because they keep on changing things and trying to add things and trying to find more guiltiness about us. But we believe at the end we will win. All Cypriots will be the winners and Cyprus will be united again. That's what I want.
You mentioned that you were pregnant when this all started. I mean, this must be having a huge impact on your family life,
Yes,
Chanel.
of course, I have to leave my children behind to go to the court. His jobs are going down because the ideology that we are thinking of, the things that we are doing. So he sits at the shop, plays tabla, drinks coffee with his friends. our life has changed a lot.
Because of that act. Do you regret what you did?
No, if I had the chance to go back, I would have done it again.
So there you have it. It's Chanel Senem Hussein and Koray Bashdorutmachi, along with Tina Adamidou, spelling out for us a really kangaroo court style event going on now for nearly 2 years in the occupied areas of Cyprus.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
In other news this week, Finance Minister Haris Georgiadis has said he's concerned that with a return to relative economic stability, the attitudes that caused the collapse of Cyprus' financial sector appear, he said, to be resurfacing. He was talking to workers from the semi-state telecoms company CETA, and talking about the very thorny issue of privatisations. He's quoted as saying that, on the one hand, I'm optimistic because despite different approaches, we've succeeded in the past few years with joint responsible decisions to cover significant distance. On the other hand, I'm worried because attitudes are being recorded that show we did not learn from our mistakes. Embattled Deputy Attorney General Rikos Erotokritou has refused to heed calls for his resignation, and he's continuing to deny the criminal charges that have now been brought against him. However, he didn't hold the promised news conference on Tuesday. He said instead that with regard to the charge sheet filed on Tuesday against him and 3 other individuals, as I have already stated, anything I have to say, I will say in court. In the meantime, he continues as Deputy Attorney General. And despite the fact that a traffic camera network was supposed to be up and running by the end of February this year, it is apparently still yet to enter the tenders phase. The head of the government's electromechanical services attributed the delay to procedural issues. There's no clear timeline now for when the cameras will be up and running.
This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Classical music fans are gearing up for something that has become an internationally renowned music event here in Cyprus. The 15th anniversary this year of the Pharos Chamber Music Festival. With me is the Pharos founder, Garo Kehiryan. Garo, did you really think 15 years ago that it would have grown into the stature that it now has?
I think it's something that has developed gradually over time. So, yes, when we first started out, it was a much more modest event. But today, as you said, it has established itself as one of the finest small music festivals of Europe for a number of reasons. Firstly, the venues are really very, very special. The island is very special, and that attracts top musicians from all over the world. So that's the primary thing. And the other thing is, yes, as I said, it does really attract the finest musicians of our time. And it's a very intimate setting. It's a very unique setting. So for a number of reasons, it's considered to be one of the finest small chamber music festivals of Europe.
And tell us about the settings, because 20 and 22nd of May and then the 2nd of June, we have the Shoe Factory in Nicosia, but the 25th to the 30th of May, nothing against the Shoe Factory, but the Royal Manor House at Kuklia really is a venue that brings even people from abroad.
That's right. A lot of the people who come to the festival are now coming from abroad, and that we have regulars who've been coming for 10 years. Kuklia is a wonderful space. It's an old Hellenistic archaeological site, but it also incorporates a beautiful medieval hall with a courtyard. So I think that it's a very magical atmosphere. When people gather in the courtyard at dusk, and there's a really special atmosphere. And we've built up a wonderful audience, a local audience, who have really sustained and encouraged us over the years. So it's really the highlight of the festival, because these musicians, come from all over Europe and beyond, and they're together for a 10-day period, let's say, and they haven't had a chance really to rehearse, and they're not established quartets or trios. So there's an amazing chemistry and an energy, and more often than not, I would say 90% of the time, you've got this real chemistry and energy from the performances. So that's a wonderful thing.
So how do you put the programme together and decide who you're going to invite? Because it could be a bit risky, I suppose, inviting people who are perhaps not familiar with the style of some of the other people they'll be playing with.
Yeah, but we've built up a core group of musicians who come every year. I mean, the artistic directors of the festival have a group of core people, I would say, with whom they perform throughout the year. So it's not like they're coming from nowhere and playing together for the first time. But around that core group, we have, new people, because I think audiences obviously like to hear new performers as well. So it's this year we have 17 musicians. And we've also got a flute player, one of the best flute players in the world, probably the world's greatest horn player. So it's a nice mix of instruments as well this year.
Is it difficult to bring something fresh to it sometimes?
No, it's always fresh because, as I said, the musicians have this amazing energy which they exude, and the works which are performed. I've said before, chamber music, I think, is one of the most exciting forms of classical music, because they are the most sort of intimate, if you like, expressions and the most intense expressions of the composers whose works, are performed.
And who are you performing this year?
Oh, a whole range. I mean, there's a lot of Brahms, there's a lot of Mozart, there's Shostakovich, a wide range of composers.
The programme's put together, you said, by artistic directors?
Yeah, the festival has an artistic director, and we plan this, throughout the year. As soon as this festival is over, we'll be starting planning the next one. In fact, these are one of our big issues, because we need to plan, a year in advance, and yet, there are so many financial obstacles to overcome, and we don't know where the funding is going to come from often until the very last minute. So we were scrambling to raise money to ensure that, artist tickets are bought, and the hiring of the space is paid for. Believe it or not, we have to pay the government to hire the space. And unfortunately, the Cyprus Tourist Organization doesn't support it and doesn't really get it, because, I really believe events like this are a paradigm shifter in terms of cultural tourism to the island. We are bringing something that is very, very unique and special to this island, which has a very high international profile. And I think the Cyprus Tourist Organization should be on board, but they're not, So, yes, we do need to plan a year in advance, and our cycle for funding for it is very different, because we still don't know whether we're going to get any funding, or what funding we're going to get, what level of funding, in terms of the annual contribution of the Ministry of Education and Culture. They haven't even looked at the applications. I'm not talking about only Pharos, whoever they support different cultural organizations or initiatives. Nobody yet knows how much money, if any, they're going to be getting from the Ministry of Education and Culture. So, it's state-run, state-organized. I just don't think they have an idea of how the private cultural sector operates and what the kind of cycles are in this. So it's a very, very stressful, but, a lot of adrenaline is flowing, obviously.
But then when you get the final programme together, you mentioned Mozart and Brahms. I mean, you presumably try and make sure that each year is somehow different.
Absolutely.
Do you ever have a theme to your
No,
festivals?
we don't. I know that many festivals do have a theme. I'm personally not very keen on the idea of a theme-based festival. I think it's a bit kitsch sometimes, and it's a bit, sort of squaring the peg. It tries to do things that not necessarily. No, I think that we do have a lot of, we have, as I said, Mozart and Brahms and Beethoven, but we also have, and we make a point of selecting, composers whose works you wouldn't normally be hearing. So there is
So it's something for the connoisseur, really, but I think it has, over the years, also introduced people who are perhaps not aficionados of the genre to the idea of chamber music and indeed classical music in general.
Very much so, and that applies not only to our audiences, but it also applies to our education program, because we have, as you know, a very, very extensive music education program. And we're going to be organizing special educational events and concerts for school children from the area, from the Pharos area, from the Kuklia village. Of course, some of these kids grew up with us. They were 5 or 6 when they first started coming to our educational activities, and now they're teenagers. And there's one particular boy who is actually quite a talented violinist, and we've been trying to encourage his parents to pursue this. I mean, not maybe professionally, but that he should, perhaps study music at university or go to one of the academies of music in Europe.
So it's got a future before it. I wonder if we'll both be around to talk about the 30th anniversary. But I know that despite the current economic crisis and the troubles that you've mentioned, you do try and keep the ticket prices at something that people can afford. So where can people get tickets and how much are they this year?
Very much so. I think, we do keep ticket prices at a symbolic level because some of these musicians, charge many, many times more if you go to hear them in venues in Europe. Tickets can be purchased. I mean, if you're a friend and supporter of the foundation, they know people can buy tickets and reserve seats, etc. Well, we do reserve seats in the first few rows for friends, major sponsors and supporters. But otherwise, tickets can be bought online on our website, through our website, pharosartsfoundation.org.
Garo Kehayan, founder of the Pharos Arts Foundation, talking there about the upcoming Chamber Music Festival in its 15th year. It started on the 20th of May. It runs through until the 2nd of June.
You can subscribe to the Cyprus News Digest on iTunes for free and get the program downloaded to your phone or tablet so you can listen anytime, anywhere.
And a couple of events coming up that you might like to attend. 22nd of May is International Day of Biodiversity, and it's the date chosen by BirdLife Cyprus to open a photography exhibition called The 34 Wonders of the World. It features photographs by the world's finest nature photographers, accompanied by information. The exhibition is going to be inaugurated by Anastasios Leventis, President of BirdLife Cyprus, and the French Ambassador to Nicosia, Jean-Luc Florent. It starts at 7:30 on May 22nd at the Paluriodissa Old Market. And news for people in Limassol. After twice extending the Nicosia shows of the Tony Award-winning play Red by Alpha Square and the Leventis Gallery, there's going to be one night only in Limassol on the 22nd of May. It's at 8:30 p.m. The play is directed by Andreas Araouzos. It will be in Greek, but with English super titles. It's happening at the Rialto Theatre in Limassol. You can book your tickets on 77777745.
In collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
The biggest achievement of Crime Stoppers has been the ability of the public to be able to give information about crime anonymously.
There's no way I could have kept prostituting without the drugs. There's no way I could have had my body used like a public toilet, because that's actually what prostitution is.
And then the 4th series I started 3 days after I'd won the Oscar, so the whole of the Moloch of the Glen experience was all interplatted with the Gosford Park Oscar experience.
I was working with Ronnie James Dio, and David was going to reform Whitesnake in 2003.
Cyprus was chosen because Cyprus is a stable, peaceful and secure place.
We have to really look closely. What are we doing with children? What are we doing with adolescents? And what are we doing with adults that can help them move into a more literate situation?
The ones that I'm proudest of are the ones that were true discoveries, where we found something we didn't know existed.
This weekend sees the 27th International Historic Car Rally taking to the roads of Cyprus. It's being organised by FIPA, and the clerk of the course is Andreas Isaias. Andreas, you've been doing this, I think, for some years now as FIPA, but how would you describe a historic car rally to somebody who really doesn't know what it's about? Because unlike other rallies, it's not about going the fastest, is it?
First of all, I will tell you that I'm working with the rallies since 1973, with international rallies, WRC and so on. And then the last 15 years I am in regularity rallies in FIBA, This is not a race rally, it's a regularity rally. So how we can work on that? We count a road in meters and we know the distance. The competitors, they don't know the distance. So they oblige to work with specific average speed on this area. So if we know the people, they know the speed, we know the distance, so we know exactly what time they will be at the finish. If they succeed to arrive at the finish exactly on time, so they take 0 degrees penalties. For those people, they come earlier or after, they take the penalties. Even 1 second before or after, they take the penalty. I described a special stage like that, so you will understand who will come first, second, and so on.
And you've got some interesting cars in the rally. I think the oldest one was manufactured in 1939. Tell me about that.
This is it's an old car. It was a very bad situation, and the man the owner, he creates the car again from the beginning, piece by piece. He built it up, and now it is a very nice car, and you can see it in our poster.
It's very important that when the cars are restored, they stick as closely as possible to the original, isn't it? I mean, how do you check in homologation terms whether or not all the parts that are used are genuine?
We have the special team that they know all the circumstances that they have to be the car. They know from the books how it's manufactured, what spare parts were fitted on that time. So they check everything step by step, and if the car is okay for these regulations, so this car is a thick car.
And these rallies this is the international one, but there are several of them a year around Cyprus. People love to see the old cars on the road, like the ones that are gathered up outside. Is that having an effect on more people looking to buy old cars and restore them?
It depends. It depends on the people that they like to have one old car in their possession. I think always most of people, they are interested, but now on this time of the crisis is not very convenient to start again from the beginning to rebuild one car. So they prefer to buy one ready-made, and for those special people, they can make that.
So let's get to the event itself. We said it takes place this weekend. It starts, I think, in the centre of Nicosia, 9:30 Saturday morning, and then it goes where? Down to Limassol?
It goes to Limassol through the mountains from Gonia, is the highest peak of the mountain Mahiras, and after that it goes to Kellaki, and from Kellaki, Akrunda and Vierona, they arrive in Limassol.
And then you have an overnight stop in Limassol. What happens on Sunday?
On Sunday, we start the rally at 10 o'clock, and through Mesa Idonia and through Fasula, Spitali, and all these small villages, Alassa, on the lake of Alassa, or Lofu, we arrived in Ayamavri, in Kilani, so they stop for half an hour to rest, to drink a coffee. And then they start again at 12 o'clock through the Plataniskia, Dora, and Anogira. They go to Pissouri for lunch. At 3 o'clock, we go to the Motor Museum in Ipsonas, and we finish the rally at 5 o'clock in Kapitanios again, Kapitanios Odysseia.
And I presume that the route, if people want to go out and see the cars, is on your website?
Yes, it's in our website, as well as the itinerary with the timing and everything, all the details that we need to know. www.lespafipa.org.cy.
So that's www.lespafipa.org.cy. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.